Every year, thousands of people step into the wilderness and never return. Some vanish in storms. Some fall to nature's power. But a few, just a few, disappear in ways that break all logic. They leave behind gear, maps, even footprints that end mid-trail, as if they were lifted straight off the earth. And sometimes, they come back, but not as they were. This is one of those stories. A case that challenges everything we think we know about time, memory, and what waits for us in the silence of the wild. Before we begin, I want to ask you something and be honest. If someone you loved vanished without a trace and decades later they returned, looking exactly the same as the day they disappeared, would you believe it was really them? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you love uncovering stories that blur the line between truth and mystery, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell, because what you're about to hear will make you question how much of the world we truly understand. This is Untold Stories by Selene. Every town has a story it tries to forget. Whispers that move through generations, soft enough to be doubted, but never completely silenced. In one small mountain town, bordered by endless forest and skies that always seem too still, there's a legend that doesn't belong to any one person. It belongs to the land itself. They say that sometimes people disappear there. Not in the way that people run away or get lost. But these disappearances are different. Because sometimes, the mountain gives them back. Those who return are never the same. Some come back silent, some confused, and a few, disturbingly, come back unchanged. As if the years that passed for everyone else simply never touched them. You can dismiss it as folklore if you like. Stories invented to explain what can't be explained. A trick of time, of memory, of human longing. But official records tell a colder truth. 3 names. 3 faces. 3 park rangers who vanished decades apart, and returned as if time had stopped. Each disappeared in a different wilderness. Each came back decades later, unaged, unbroken, and unable to explain what had happened. Their stories were never meant to meet. But when you look closely, too closely, the details begin to echo each other. The same stillness in their eyes. The same sentence repeated quietly in different rooms, different years, different voices. I wasn't surviving. I was waiting. Waiting for what no one has ever found out. And that's where this story begins. June 14, 1983. The Rocky Mountains near Estes Park, Colorado. Morning light spills through the pines, painting the forest floor in long golden stripes. The air smells of wet earth and pine resin, crisp and alive. Birds scatter at the sound of footsteps, their wings cracking the silence. Ranger Daniel Morgan, 34, knows these mountains better than most. Every trail, every ridge, every hidden alcove is a part of him. A map he carries in muscle and memory. He tightens the laces of his boots, adjusts his patrol belt, and steps onto a trail he's walked countless times. Today is like any other, until it isn't. Hours pass. Sunlight fades. Night creeps across the pines. But Daniel never returns. Search teams flood the mountains. Helicopters sweep in wide arcs, their lights cutting through fog and shadow. Dogs follow faint scents that vanish into the soil as if the earth swallowed them whole. Trees bend in the wind, rustling secrets no one can hear. Then a strange discovery. His ranger hat found pinned under a jagged boulder miles off his usual route. No footprints. No campsite. Nothing else to hint at what happened. It is as if he simply vanished, erased from the land he once knew like the back of his hand. Weeks turn to months. The file grows cold. By 1987, Daniel Morgan is officially listed as missing, presumed dead. Yet his family never gives up hope. His mother sets an extra plate at dinner every night. His father keeps the porch light burning, saying softly, "The mountains always give back what they take." Decades pass. 40 years stretch long and silent. Then one September morning in 2021, a hiker deep in the northern Rockies stumbles across something impossible. A cluster of weathered wooden cabins half swallowed by the forest. Smoke curls faintly from one chimney, and on the porch of one cabin stands a man, watching the world as if it were new. When asked his name, he replies simply, "Daniel." The hiker notices something even stranger. His voice, his posture, the very way he exists in the world feels wrong, displaced, out of time. Daniel's appearance has not aged a day. The man who vanished nearly 40 years ago stands before the modern world, unchanged. The news spreads fast. Scientists prepare for disaster, expecting a body weakened by decades of exposure, malnutrition, frostbite. But every test contradicts reality. Heart strong, lungs clear, muscles firm. His body shows no sign of the years that passed. And yet, Daniel doesn't speak of survival. He doesn't speak of suffering. Only fragments. Memories of sunlight on moss. The whisper of rain. A cabin in the forest, and the faint feeling that someone, or something, was always near. It is impossible. Unexplainable. As the world tries to catch up to his return, Daniel remains a man of the past trapped in the present. And when authorities take him back to the mountains, the trails have changed, the trees fallen, the landscape rewritten by decades. Yet he walks without hesitation, guided by something no map or compass could define. He stops at an unmarked ridge, tracing the wind with his hands. He mutters numbers, phrases no one recognizes, coordinates perhaps, or something older, something alive. And then he stops completely before a cabin, resting his hand on the wooden rail. "They're gone," he says. Simple. Unfathomable. No one asks who. No one asks why. And in that moment the mystery deepens. A question that will pull investigators, scientists, and families into a wilderness far older than any calendar. A wilderness that refuses to give up its secrets. When Daniel Morgan is finally brought back to civilization, the world expects collapse. 40 years alone in the Rockies. Malnourished, frostbitten, exhausted. A man broken by time. But Daniel is none of these things. In the hospital, he moves carefully as though the very floor beneath him might shift. Fluorescent lights flare too brightly. Doors slide open too suddenly. The constant hum of machines feels invasive, almost alive. A simple beep of a heart monitor makes him flinch. When a nurse offers a thermometer, he studies it with suspicion, turning it over as if it might bite. Everything in this world is foreign. And yet his body is flawless. Medical tests shock the staff. A heart strong as a man half his age. Lungs clear, free of disease. Muscles firm, toned, not a trace of starvation or malnutrition. Decades of isolation have left no mark. Almost 40 years, gone in the blink of a pulse. To every measure of science, this is impossible. One doctor mutters under her breath, staring at the results. It defies every law we know. It cannot be real. But Daniel doesn't care about laws. He speaks in the rhythm of another time, in a voice that belongs to 1983. Old-fashioned words, careful phrasing, the cadence of someone untouched by decades. His mind has not wandered with the years. It remains anchored to a moment no one else can reach. Even in the presence of modernity, Daniel's senses are tuned to the wilderness he left behind. He notices the texture of walls, the angle of light across the room. He flinches at the hum of electricity and jumps at the slightest sound of movement. When asked about his disappearance, he only says fragments. "I remember sunlight on moss. The whisper of rain, like someone breathing close by." Then silence. Days pass. Psychologists, scientists, journalists, and authorities attempt to map his behavior, theorizing extreme adaptive survival, cryogenic suspension, or even psychogenic time perception. Yet nothing explains why his body shows no sign of aging, why his mind recalls the forest in perfect detail, or why he reacts to modern life as if it were a foreign land. Then comes the visit no one can prepare him for, his mother. She enters the room, trembling, holding a faded photograph. 40 years older than the boy who once left for the mountains, her hair gray, her eyes lined with time. "Daniel," she whispers, her voice breaking. He looks at her, startled. Recognition flickers, uncertain, fragile. Hands meet. One aged, one frozen in time. And for a moment the two of them exist in a world outside the laws of years. Words are broken, fragmented. Memories half-formed. What happened?" she asks. Daniel only shakes his head. "I was waiting," he says softly. At night the silence grows heavier. Daniel wakes suddenly, his eyes fixed on the shadows in the corner. He whispers numbers, coordinates perhaps, or something else entirely, pressing his palm against the wall, trembling. "They're watching," he mutters. "I shouldn't be here." Investigators watch in uneasy silence. Every detail, the precision of his movements, the calm intensity of his gaze, hints at a knowledge they cannot see, a time he has carried alone, and perhaps something more. Something still in the mountains. Weeks later, Daniel leads a team back to the wilderness. The trails have shifted. Trees have fallen. Erosion has rewritten the ridges. Yet he moves without hesitation, guided by a memory or instinct no one can understand. Every rock, every slope, every breeze seems to speak to him. He pauses frequently, tracing patterns with his hands, listening. Then he stops at a ridge, pointing to an old cabin barely visible through the forest. He rests a hand on its weathered railing. "They're gone," he says simply. The investigators exchange uneasy glances. No one dares ask who or what he means. But the air thickens with a quiet realization. The years Daniel spent in the forest were not entirely his own. Something, or someone, shared the silence with him. And in that instant the mystery grows larger. Because if Daniel's disappearance was more than survival, if he returned unchanged but not alone, then the forest still holds answers. And it is not finished with him yet. Weeks after his return, Daniel insists on revisiting the mountains. Authorities, scientists, and journalists follow, trying to map his path, hoping for answers. But the wilderness has changed. Trails he once knew are gone. Trees have fallen. Streams have shifted. The mountains themselves seem to resist any attempt at understanding. Yet Daniel moves with certainty. Every step is deliberate, every pause meaningful. He touches rocks, leans into the wind, listens to sounds invisible to the rest of the group. He mutters phrases no one recognizes, numbers and coordinates that hint at knowledge only he could possess. Finally, he stops at a large ancient oak, its bark weathered and scarred. At first glance, it looks like a tree shaped by decades of storms and sun. But as investigators draw closer, they notice something remarkable. The trunk is covered with carvings. Spirals, lines, symbols arranged in precise patterns. Weathered yet unmistakable, a calendar, a record, a map. Something. Experts examine the carvings in awe. They track seasons, lunar phases, temperature changes, animal migrations, and other natural rhythms with astonishing precision. Decades of meticulous observation have been etched into the wood. Daniel approaches the tree and gently traces the carvings with his fingertips. He murmurs quietly, "It's right. I waited until it was time." His voice is calm, almost reverent, and there is a subtle shift in the air. A sense that these carvings are more than just records. They are proof. Proof of time observed differently, of patience that stretches beyond human understanding. Investigators are stunned. Was this his work? Or something older than him, a language of the mountains themselves? No one can say. The tree holds the answer but refuses to speak it aloud. Back in town, Daniel tries to reintegrate. But the modern world feels alien. Electric lights are harsh. Doors must be checked twice. Objects must be handled with care. He studies every tool, every piece of technology as if testing its trustworthiness. At night he sleeps fitfully. Sometimes he wakes suddenly, staring at a corner of the room, whispering to shadows only he can see. Coordinates, they're still watching. "I shouldn't be here," he murmurs. Even when he helps rangers with conservation work, guiding them through the forest, there is a sense that Daniel is only partially present. His mind drifts back to the mountains, to the tree, to the rhythm he once knew. And then one evening he pauses mid-step on a trail. His eyes fix on the horizon. A faint smile appears, almost imperceptible. He whispers, "It's calling. Always calling." Those who hear him feel a chill. Because it is clear, the mountains are not finished with him. And the mystery is far from solved. What is the call he hears? Who or what shares the silence with him? And what does the forest still remember that he alone carries in his mind? The answers lie deeper, hidden in the heart of the wilderness. And Daniel, despite returning, is only beginning to uncover them. The carved oak stands like a sentinel at the heart of the Rockies, its spirals and lines etched over decades by hands the world has barely seen. Daniel Morgan returns to it day after day, running his fingers over patterns that seem to pulse beneath his touch. Experts have tried to decode it, but the carvings resist interpretation. Seasons, celestial shifts, animal migrations, temperature changes, all are recorded with terrifying accuracy. But what do they mean? Why were they made? And by whom? Daniel does not answer. He moves as if the tree speaks directly to him, guiding him along trails no one else notices. He pauses, crouches, listens to the wind, whispers fragments of words that sound like coordinates, or perhaps a language lost to time. Investigators note the pattern. Daniel responds not to questions but to subtle cues: the angle of the sunlight, the rustle of leaves, the way shadows stretch across the ground. He seems attuned to a rhythm the rest of the world cannot perceive. One morning, Daniel leads the team deeper than before to a ridge where the forest thins and the air tastes different, electric, almost alive. Here, the carvings continue, not on trees but on stones embedded in the earth, spiraling upward like a message written into the landscape itself. He kneels and traces the etchings, muttering, "They count it, they mark it, it's waiting for the moment." The meaning is cryptic, but one thing becomes clear. Daniel's disappearance was not merely survival. He has been part of something larger, a process the mountains themselves orchestrate, a cycle that stretches across decades. Back in town, Daniel struggles with the modern world. Objects are foreign, time feels compressed, human interaction exhausting. He sleeps lightly, wakes in the night to scribble coordinates and numbers in notebooks that no one else understands. Electricity, cameras, even the hum of traffic seems wrong, intrusive, an echo of something he can no longer trust. And yet, he returns to the mountains, drawn irresistibly to the carved patterns. Each visit reveals more. Lines on trees, shapes in stone, symbols that track unseen forces in the forest. Wind, rain, animal movements, cycles of life and death. On one visit, Daniel stops abruptly, his eyes wide. He traces a spiral on a tree, then looks up at the ridge. The wind bends the branches like fingers pointing toward a hidden path. He whispers, "They're close, closer than ever before." The team watches, unnerved. No one can see what he sees. But Daniel is certain. Something waits in the wilderness, something that measured the years while he was gone, something that is now aware he has returned. As night falls, Daniel sets camp near the carvings. Alone, he stares into the dark, tracing shapes in the shadows with his fingers. The forest hums around him. He whispers, "I wasn't surviving. I was waiting." The words hang in the air, carrying a weight that chills everyone nearby. And then, just as the camera pans to the darkened ridge, a faint glow appears between the trees. Subtle, impossible, as if the carvings themselves were calling him forward. No one moves. No one breathes. Only Daniel seems to hear the signal, the pull that has guided him across decades. And in that silence, one question lingers. What is waiting for him in the mountains that the rest of the world cannot see? By now, the mountains no longer feel like a backdrop. They are a presence. Every gust of wind, every rustle of leaves, every shifting shadow seems to respond to Daniel Morgan. He no longer walks. He listens, feels, moves in rhythm with something unseen. Investigators follow, but they cannot keep pace. Daniel pauses at trees, rocks, and streams, tracing carvings, touching patterns no one else notices. Sometimes he kneels on the forest floor, fingers grazing shapes etched in stone or bark, murmuring numbers, symbols, or words that sound almost like a language the wilderness itself might understand. At the carved oak, Daniel stops for hours. The spirals, lines, and symbols now appear alive, their patterns resonating with him in a way that seems impossible. Experts suggest extreme hyper-awareness, some sort of instinct honed to perfection. But those who watch closely notice, it's more than instinct. Daniel interacts with the forest as if it communicates directly with him. One evening, near twilight, Daniel pauses atop a ridge. The sky burns with gold, the shadows stretching long across the forest floor. He crouches, tracing symbols on a flat stone. Then he rises, eyes fixed on a distant thicket. "They've been waiting," he whispers. The team holds its breath. He doesn't move like a man seeing the past. He moves like someone knowing the present is responding to him. That night, Daniel sets camp near the carvings. Alone, he sits in the shadows, whispering phrases that echo faintly across the ridge. The forest hums back, subtle, almost imperceptible, like a pulse. He traces shapes in the dirt, aligns stones and spirals that mirror the carvings on trees. He speaks to the night. "It's time." They remember. And then it happens. A faint glow appears between the trees, not fire, not electricity, but something luminous, soft, moving as if alive. It follows the contours of the carvings, tracing the spirals with a precision no human hand could achieve. Daniel's eyes widen, a rare expression of awe and certainty. He whispers one final word before leaning back, staring into the glow. Finally, no one else understands. Investigators see only the dim light, the shadows of the forest. But Daniel's presence resonates with it. For the first time, the mountains seem to acknowledge him, to interact with him as if the years he spent alone were part of a dialogue the rest of the world cannot hear. And as the night deepens, one terrifying truth settles over everyone watching. Daniel Morgan did not just survive the wilderness. He became part of it. A participant in a cycle older than human memory, a witness to something the forest alone comprehends. The glow fades. The pulse of the forest quiets. And Daniel turns to the investigators, voice calm but full of gravity. They are not finished with me. And neither are you. The words hang in the air, heavy, unanswered. The mountains have secrets still. The carvings are not finished. And the forest waits for what comes next. Daniel Morgan, the man who vanished into the Rockies and returned unchanged decades later, now walks a world both familiar and alien. The mountains, the forests, the trails, they speak to him in a language no one else can hear. He moves through towns, through hospitals, through families, but a part of him remains tethered to the wilderness, listening, waiting, and remembering. The carvings on the oak, the spirals etched into stone, the subtle glows in the forest, they are more than evidence. They are proof of a dialogue with a force older than memory, older than human time. Daniel's decades in isolation were not wasted, nor were they simply survival. He was observing, recording, communicating, becoming part of a rhythm that the world cannot yet name. When investigators follow him into the forest, they glimpse the impossible. Symbols that count seasons, track migrations, measure wind and light, each mark a pulse of life, a whisper of something unseen. And Daniel listens. He responds. He waits. They're still here, he says quietly, staring at the mountains as if they could answer him. The story does not end with survival. It does not end with reunion, with science, or with explanation. It ends with questions that press against the edges of reason. What force marked the years of his disappearance? Was he alone, or was someone, guiding him through decades of silence? And if endurance can reshape time, what does that mean for the world beyond the wilderness? Daniel returns to the trails, the carvings, the slopes he knows better than anyone. The mountains whisper his name. The forest responds. And the viewers are left to wonder, to feel the pull of the unknown. Some disappearances are temporary. Some returns are incomplete. Some mysteries are bigger than explanation. And maybe that is the point. Because Daniel Morgan did not simply survive. He became part of something larger. A rhythm, a secret, a pulse of life measured in a way we cannot yet comprehend. The mountains still hold their secrets. The carvings still speak. And the forest, it waits. So when you walk through trees, when you listen to the wind, when you notice the quiet patterns of the world around you, remember, sometimes the wilderness is watching. And sometimes it waits for someone to return. The story lingers in the air, unresolved, unexplainable, unforgettable. And in that lingering, the edge between the known and unknown becomes clear. Some mysteries never end. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think Daniel truly experienced in those decades? Was it survival, something supernatural, or a rhythm of nature beyond our understanding? Drop your theories in the comments below. The most compelling ideas just might be featured in our next video. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Join us on Untold Stories by Selene as we uncover more disappearances, strange returns, and mysteries that defy explanation. Because some stories aren't meant to end, they're meant to be explored.